Most days don't fall apart. They dissolve. Nothing dramatic happens. You don't fail publicly. You don't make a clear mistake. The day just ends without having been handled. You did some things. You reacted to messages. You stayed busy enough to feel tired. And still, something feels untouched. That feeling is not confusion. It's recognition. You know at some level that certain parts of life require daily contact, not weekly reflection, not occasional effort. Daily. When those parts are ignored, life doesn't punish you immediately, it just becomes harder to manage. You wake up slightly behind. You carry low-level tension for no clear reason. You feel busy but ineffective. This is not a motivation problem, it's a maintenance problem. There are things in your life that cannot be left unattended without cost. Not because they're ambitious, because they're structural. When structure erodes, everything else feels heavier than it should. Responsibility here is not about guilt, it's about accuracy. Looking at your day as it actually is, not as you explain it to yourself. Most people don't avoid responsibility on purpose, they just underestimate what needs daily care. They think consistency is optional, something for later, something to adopt once life calms down. Life doesn't calm down. It fills the space you give it. If you don't decide what gets daily attention, the day decides for you. Urgency replaces importance, noise replaces intention, and slowly your life starts running on default settings. Responsibility acts like a mirror here. It doesn't insult you. It doesn't demand intensity. It shows you a simple truth. If something matters, it shows up in how you spend ordinary days, not in your plans, not in your ideas, in your repetition. You don't need to work on everything every day. That's impossible. But there are a few things that deteriorate without daily contact. When they slip, they take other things with them. Your focus gets scattered. Your energy becomes unpredictable. Your sense of direction weakens. You don't feel lost. You feel unmanaged. That distinction matters, because being lost suggests you need answers. Being unmanaged means you need order. Daily responsibility is about preventing drift before it becomes damage. Most people wait until something breaks before they take responsibility seriously. A relationship strains, work becomes overwhelming, health starts asking for attention. Then responsibility feels heavy. But handled daily, it feels light, quiet, almost boring, which is why it's easy to neglect. There's no immediate reward for keeping things in order, no applause for showing up prepared, no surge of emotion for finishing small, necessary tasks. The reward is absence, less chaos, less friction, less internal argument. And absence is hard to value until you've lived without it. Daily work is not about becoming exceptional. It's about not becoming compromised, not letting small neglects accumulate into large problems you have to confront later. You already sense this. There are areas of your life you know shouldn't be left alone for long. You don't need them named. You feel them when you avoid them, when you delay them, when you hope they'll take care of themselves. They don't. Nothing important does. This isn't a call to do more. It's a call to stop pretending that some things can be handled occasionally without consequence. Daily responsibility is simply this: choosing to stay in contact with what keeps your life stable. Not perfectly, not impressively, regularly. That's where order begins. Most people learn this through experience, not instruction. You don't wake up one day understanding responsibility. You arrive there after repeating the same small mistakes long enough to see the pattern. You notice that when certain things are handled daily, life feels manageable. Not easy, manageable. And when they aren't, everything feels slightly unstable. You don't always know why, you just feel it. You feel it when your mind jumps too quickly between tasks, when your body feels tired without having done much, when your days feel full but unproductive. This is not a character flaw, it's feedback. Lived experience teaches you that some things don't wait patiently. They respond immediately to neglect. Take attention. When it's not directed, it fragments. You start many things and finish few. Your thinking becomes shallow not because you're incapable, but because nothing holds long enough. Or consider energy. When sleep, movement, and rest are treated casually, everything else demands more effort than it should. You push harder just to maintain the same output. Time behaves the same way. Unstructured time feels open at first, then it starts disappearing. At the end of the day, you're unsure where it went, only that it's gone. These lessons aren't philosophical, they're practical. You don't need theory to understand them. You only need to pay attention to how your life responds. Daily responsibility doesn't come from discipline manuals. It comes from noticing what happens when you stop managing the basics. People often resist this because it feels limiting. They associate daily structure with loss of freedom. But lived experience suggests the opposite. When you don't manage yourself, your life manages you. Other people's priorities take the lead. Urgent problems crowd out important ones. Your mood becomes the deciding factor. This creates a subtle form of exhaustion, not physical, mental. You're always adjusting, always reacting, always behind something you can't quite name. Daily responsibility reduces this noise, not by making life smaller, but by making it more predictable. You know what needs attention today because you've decided that in advance. That decision removes dozens of small negotiations. You stop asking whether you should do the work. You already know the answer. This is how responsibility becomes human and livable, not a moral demand, a practical agreement with yourself. You handle certain things daily because not handling them makes life worse. Not dramatically, incrementally. Most people don't notice incremental decline until it becomes obvious. By then, responsibility feels like repair. Handled earlier, it feels like maintenance. And maintenance is quieter. It doesn't ask for heroics, it asks for presence. You show up, you do what belongs to the day, you leave fewer things unresolved than you found. Over time, this changes how you see effort. Effort stops feeling like self-punishment. It starts feeling like care. Care for your future attention, care for your energy, care for your sense of direction. Responsibility framed this way doesn't feel imposed. It feels earned. Earned through lived proof that daily neglect always collects interest. And daily care, even when small, keeps life from drifting into disorder. This is not about doing 10 things perfectly. It's about understanding that some things cannot be skipped without cost. Experience teaches this slowly, but once learned, it's hard to ignore. There is one idea that sits underneath all of this. If it's understood, the rest becomes obvious. Daily responsibility is the management of decay, not failure, decay. Things don't fall apart all at once. They wear down when unattended. Focus dulls, energy drops, standards soften. This happens to everyone. There is no exception. Self-management is the decision to notice this early and respond before correction turns into repair. This is why daily work matters, not because each action is important on its own, but because it slows decline. When you work on the right things every day, you are not building momentum, you are preserving function. Your attention stays usable, your time stays visible, your behavior stays aligned with what you value. This doesn't require intensity. Intensity often accelerates decay by burning resources. What it requires is steadiness. Steadiness is the ability to return to what needs care without drama. You don't wait to feel inspired. You don't wait for consequences. You don't wait for things to break. You adjust while things are still intact. Self-management practiced daily keeps problems small. Small problems are manageable. Large ones feel personal. This is where frustration usually comes from, not from effort, but from deferred responsibility. When days pass without maintenance, life demands correction in bulk. That's when people feel overwhelmed. Daily responsibility spreads the load. A little attention now prevents a lot of effort later. This creates a different relationship with yourself. You stop feeling like you're always catching up. You stop feeling surprised by your own outcomes. You stop negotiating with standards you've already set. Order becomes familiar, not rigid, functional. You know what you are responsible for today, and you handle it. Not perfectly, not emotionally, practically. This is the quiet strength most people are missing, not confidence, reliability. Reliability in your own behavior. When that is present, life feels less chaotic even when it's full. The days still have pressure, but they no longer have drift. That's the difference daily responsibility makes. Not transformation, stability. And stability maintained long enough allows everything else to work as intended. Not forever, just today.